In the first matchup with Edmonton, the first Connor McDavid goal, that power play goal, he gets speed going through the zone and it just does his thing. Is there anything you can do on the penalty kill to set it up differently or attack the blue line differently to defend against that?
Well, I think that one was a little bit broken, compared to the structure they normally come into in a certain way. But yeah, I mean, when he picks up that much speed, I think you just kind of close your eyes and pray. I mean, it was a nice goal. Got to find a way to slow him down for sure.
Yossi's closing in on 1,000 games. You work with him on a day-to-day basis. Can you kind of just take us behind the scenes and talk about, I guess, the impact that he has on your team, maybe that fans don't see off the ice?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I mean, there's lots of layers to Romy. Does so many things for us. I think the one thing that sticks out from working with him for the last 3 years is just he's a great player and he's even a better person. Same with great teammate, cares about everybody. You hate to say it sometimes too much, where he defers to everything's worrying about the team and individual players, and sometimes you're like just worried about Roman sometimes. But that speaks to a little bit of his character and who he is as a person. He loves the game. I don't know if you see that from the outside. He loves playing. He every time he brings joy to every practice when he gets going, and people probably don't see that with him. But yeah, to me, that's what, if I'm thinking of one thing, is just the person he is. I mean, he's just a kind person to all his teammates.
Organizationally, given you guys have had guys reach the 1,000-game mark, but to have somebody who's done it entirely in this uniform, what do you think that means to this organization?
I think it's really cool. Anytime you can do it in one organization to get 1,000 games played. I mean, there's not many. The list is probably short. It's going to probably be even shorter and shorter as time goes on here. I know obviously in the the pre-cap era and those things, you'd get those players, especially 70s, 80s, when there wasn't quite the movement there is now. So I think in today's modern era, you don't see it very often, and when you do, you really have to appreciate it, and organizationally and the city of Nashville for being able to have the pleasure to watch him play for 1,000 games in your uniform is pretty special.
When you watch Roman in a game as a coach, is there anything that maybe you see or notice that perhaps the average person doesn't when they watch him play? Any little intangibles?
I think, to me, you kind of know, being around him, you kind of know when he's going. So I think you kind of try to know that about all your players, but I think with Roman, there's some telltale signs for me. Even the third period last game, you could tell he raises his game and he picks the spots when to raise it. He understands where the game's at, and when he's needed, and there's obviously, as time goes on, and you can't play at a certain level all the time, but he's got a pretty good knack of understanding, when his game needs to be risen, and that's on both sides of the ice. It probably goes a little bit unnoticed on the defensive side because he's such an offensive player, but he realized what the team needs, and you could see he'll find a way to make that happen.
We haven't seen Justin Barrett recently. Is that just a matter of you like what the rest of the defense is doing? It's a numbers game or something else?
Yeah, I think it's a numbers game. I mean, I think for the most part, we played pretty solid. The 6 guys, it's hard to really take them out. Unfortunately, with an injury, other guys stepped up, and Blanky stepped up and took off. It'd be really hard to take him out right now. So, we put him first in 7, as a 7th defenseman for a few games, just to make sure he's ready, because anything can happen in our league right now with all these games. And we still have high hopes for him, high expectations for him. He's still a young player that's growing. He'll get his opportunity, and hopefully he can get back to kind of where he was at the start of the year and the end of last year. I thought he had dipped a little bit before we took him out, and then he got hurt. So we got to get him back to where he was.
Do you think any changes to the lineup?
There's a couple game time decisions here tonight, so we're all going through some stuff.
In a locker room that has like a Stamkos, Yossi, Ryan O'Reilly, you played 1,100 games. I know sometimes people focus on with veterans, they're losing a step or whatever as they get a little bit older. But what keeps getting better for veteran players the longer they play?
Well, I think the longer they play, again, speaking, Roman is the love of the game and the drive to be your best. and the never-ending quest to adapt. And all the guys that I've been around that played a long time, they find a way to adapt because, Father Time always wins. But how do you find ways to get to your game or do something different? Or, take Stammer, for example, a little bit. He's changed a little bit of where he goes and where his shot selection is. So he adapts. He's driven, loves the game, and he's proud. And I think the guys that play that long usually have those things in common.
Andrew, we've heard over the course of the year from guys, we know we need to play a certain way to win. Has that changed at all in your mind over the course of the season? At least when things get turned here recently, I guess the question would be, has success looked like what you thought it would look like?
Yeah. I think it took a little, obviously we didn't get the results. I've said this a bunch, but I think we've had, complete buy-in from our group that we understood how we have to play to give ourselves a chance to win every night. We got to let Juice see the puck, and we got to do certain things. And when the results aren't there, as a coach, you kind of worry because that's usually, especially goals, when you got a bunch of goal scorers that aren't scoring. Are they going to deviate from what we're asking them to do? And in the past, at times they have. This year, I think, speaking with them throughout the summer, at the end of last year, and through training camp, I think there's a clearer understanding, communication line between both of us, that there was a little bit of a partnership and a belief, and they understood how we had to play, and they were going to buy into it. And you're proud of the group that we stuck with it, because the results were not quite there. We felt pretty good about our game, but when you don't score, and you have a bunch of scorers, that's hard sell, right? I've been through that on both ends as a coach, as a player, where you had to play a certain way, and you're doing it till you have, when you have success, and when you don't have success, you deviate. We stuck with it, and you can kind of see it game in, game out. I mean, we don't, score as easy as we'd like to. Case in point, the other night, and but we stayed with the plan, and you're able to get a power play goal, and Smitty makes great individual effort, and you get enough to win. And that's kind of sort of our team, and we understand it, and we embrace it. Of course, we'd love to score more goals, but we're in a situation that we're in games, and I think there's a belief that that's the way we're going to have to play. And they've stayed steadfast with it all year so far.
Andrew, just a question. The Oilers went through Chicago last night. Third straight team, I think, after Vegas and Washington to have their dad's trip.
Yeah.
Nashville is obviously a very popular spot for dads or moms trips. I wonder, as the coach of the team going up against a team that is trying to kind of put on a show for the dads, like turn back the clock, what that's like, if any difference in a normal game against the team without extra people on the trip.
Yeah, I think for us it kind of stinks because everybody wants to play really good in front of their dad, and we've had games where teams have had tons of energy and they're trying to put on a show and a win for their fathers. So we get on the other end of the stick where we sit here going, oh no, not another father's trip. Here we go. Chances are we're getting their best, and you're kind of hoping maybe they're a little sleepier. They had fun in Nashville, kind of some of the other teams that come through here. So yeah, it's no fun when the dads are here.